Quick question.
What?
Do dogs have inhalers? Is there anyone out there?
I feel like Blakely might need one.
If we have any vets who listen, we need to know the answer to that, because maybe she got it from being around you for all this time. She has asthma just like you have asthma.
I don't think that's.
I don't know.
think it's contagious. But
she's sad. I hate to hear her breathe at it. Makes me sad.
Yeah, I don't like it either. But all right, so are we really getting into this today?
I guess. I mean, the only other alternative is for you to shower us with the New York trip.
Shower you.
But I feel like we can maybe say that for the next one.
Yeah,
maybe
I
you
think
should
so.
have Lauren on for that one.
I do feel like she
at
would
least in
enjoy
part.
that. Yeah, actually what I had thought is I think it would be fun for you to interview Lauren.
Okay.
For that.
For New York?
Even like a 15, 20-minute piece of it.
Okay.
And we could like split it up, and then I can tell like my side of it, or
We'll vet
not
that.
side of it. There's no side
we'll
to
vet
it.
That.
We'll vet it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see if she has time.
But anyways,
She's
we'll talk about New York next
so
time.
Freaking busy.
But today,
if
you recall in the last episode, we left it with who would have thought your 12-year-old self affects everything that happens, in your feelings and your thoughts and everything else when you're 50. And you said, who would have thought your 8-year-old self? So that's kind of where we ended and where we're going to pick up today. And this is really at the crux of a lot of your healing, if you will, a lot of the stuff that you read, a lot of stuff that you journal on. So I feel like that this is going to be driven in large part from you and, kind of sharing your experience. And then I'll be able to ask some questions and give my thoughts on it too.
Okay. I blacked out there. Did you just say it's going to be driven by me?
So basically what she's saying is like any other conversation, when I'm talking, she ignores
Eyes
me.
glazed
but,
over.
But let me have to ask a question twice, and she fucking loses it because I don't pay attention. I don't listen, blah, blah,
I was
blah.
I was distracted because
you were
Blakely.
You were thinking about what you were going to say, too.
No, I was also distracted because
But
Blakely
yes,
decided to get down off your lap.
I think there's probably a chance that you'll have to guide some of this conversation.
I'll have to guide the conversation.
And I'll probably kind of be chiming in, asking questions and that kind of thing. So
yeah, I don't really know how to start it. I was hoping that you would kind of ask me some questions.
Okay. We could have talked about this before.
I think I brought it up at dinner, actually.
Okay, so just to kind of recap, over the last 18 plus years we've been together, I feel like one of the things that you have grown in and evolved in is your ability to understand your feelings, reason with your feelings, make sense of your feelings, and then how to express those feelings. Whereas for years and years, I would say honestly up until the last 2 or 3 years maybe, I feel like that the reaction was, let me shut down.
Yeah.
And let me be pissed for a couple of days. And then, it would just turn into, it would just be miserable around the house. And we apologize for the dogs. They decided right now is playtime.
Right.
Up here in the podcast room.
I don't apologize for them.
But anyways, I think that one of the things that is different now is you recognize what you're feeling much, much sooner, quicker. And you will say, I've got a DI on this. I've got to go journal on this. I've got to do whatever.
My chair is they're bumping the butt of my chair up.
So you go do that much sooner. You allow yourself to get through the thoughts, get through the feelings, and then it turns into a really strong conversation and a productive conversation. Whereas before, I don't think we had many productive conversations. Or we may eventually get there, just took a lot longer to get there.
Yeah, and I feel like that's been, we've been having conversations, clearly. I mean, we've started Life's Little Arguments last year, and so I think as of last year, we were doing a better job of kind of talking through some of these, situations or whatever. But I think it's been within the last, I would say 6 months, probably. I don't know. I think I started doing these DIs somewhere around May, June, something like that. I don't know. And I think it's been since then that I'm kind of having more of this self-awareness that you're talking about. I think these they're called deep imaginings. I think I've kind of spoken about them before. They're basically like a hypnosis, a self-hypnosis. That you go through. Oh my God, I'm dying. And once you figure out what kind of like maybe a trigger would be, first of all, they take you down this whole path. They first of all talk about, where trauma comes from, what sorts of trauma happens. I swear to God, if they knock any of this over, I'm going to lose my mind. The different type of traumas, like where those come from, how they're stored in your body, and then how they impact you now and how much they impact you now. And so I cannot.
Literally
I
out
cannot.
of nowhere.
I cannot.
It's like they both have the zoomies right now during
Right.
podcast. But I'm sorry. I can't help it.
Anyway, and so you go through these things and you kind of figure out, okay, you kind of start with like, what are your limiting beliefs, or what are some of the things that you feel blocked by, and then you just kind of start digging down. You do these deep imaginings, and in these deep imaginings, you really are trying to get to your subconscious to help your subconscious be able to tell you, or allow your inner child to kind of come through and tell you, like, where did this belief come from? Like, where did this first start? Where did you first start sensing this or feeling this or hearing this? And then from there, they call it reparenting. You reparent yourself, which is basically this is how you are establishing these new neural pathways, because I know you've heard me say this word before, but these neural pathways, that's what you have, these neural pathways in your brain, and when something's happening, it is a automatic response. You have these neural pathways that your brain has always gone in this direction, right? And so it just automatically goes back this pathway, this direction, for how you would react to a situation. Well, to stop doing that, you have got to form a new neural pathway to make that the path that it should go down. But it's not just a one and done. It takes a lot of repetition in doing it. And because your body kind of wants to be lazy that way. It wants to do the easy thing, the thing that it's always done. And you have to really work at reparenting, reforming these new neural pathways. And so that's what I've been working on. And and I don't know that I have formed completely new neural pathways. I think that they are starting to form. But it definitely makes me much more aware of the triggers that I have, and when we have a situation, why I might then be reacting to you in a way that for you seems completely just abnormal, out of the blue, like, where is this coming from? And now I'm starting to recognize where it's coming from. Whereas before I'm like, I didn't really have an answer.
There was no term for it. There was no explanation.
There was no term for it. There was no explanation. As a matter of fact, I didn't feel like I needed an explanation. I was just pissed off, basically. And
it's kind of simple. We were listening to a podcast today when we were at the sauna, and one of the girls was talking about, I don't know what
going on
they have
right
never
now.
done this during a podcast. You took them for a walk even before. They have never done this during a podcast. But anyhow, they're having fun. That's all that matters. But during the podcast we were listening to this morning in the sauna, one of the girls was talking about before, when her and her husband were going through things, they didn't really have a term for it. They didn't know what to label it. They didn't know what to call it. And sometimes just understanding it does have a name. It does have a reason. And that in itself is kind of a breakthrough too, right?
Yeah, and so she was talking about the attachment styles, which I've never gone through, which is actually quite surprising, even to me, that I have never looked at the attachment styles and done any kind of quiz to figure out.
Just one more thing for her to dive into.
I feel certain I'm probably an avoidant attachment. Like, I am not anxiously, attached or whatever these things are. I'm definitely the one who, I need my space. Like, I need my space. I want my space. Like, go away, leave me alone type thing, which is what you're saying. Like, I shut down. I shut down. I'm like, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to be around you. I don't want to see your face. I shut down. Like, and it usually it has been in the past for days.
Yeah, I know.
And
it would be miserable around
And
here.
we really have moved to where it is more so, like, the last time that I had this reaction. You remember we were sitting on the couch? We were sitting on the couch and I forget what it was. Okay, so recently we had a disagreement. You told me something that I was doing that you didn't like. Mm-hmm. And I immediately was just like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? Like, fuck that. No, I'm not going to agree to that kind of thing. And then I just started getting so angry. And you were like, you need to like journal on, like, I think you said something that kind of made me think, as soon as you said it, I was like, fuck, he's kind of right. Like, where is this coming from?
The level of trigger that you got over what I would consider a relatively benign thing was pretty. So let's talk about it. Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, you told me that I had twice now like corrected you in front of other people, and you didn't appreciate that.
Yeah.
So
I had, it was, I can't remember if it was a joke, if it was a story. Do you remember?
It was a story.
Yeah, and I feel like you corrected me, and you had done it like previously in the week. And I don't mean corrected as in like I'm telling an egregious lie and you're like, can't, that's not, I mean, it was something small. It was like pointless to correct me in front of other people. And I didn't appreciate that. And I think that because it was so minuscule and so pointless, that's really kind of what aggravated me. Because I even said later, now look, if I'm telling a story and I'm just way off base or like completely making some shit up, that's one thing. But that wasn't the case in this situation. I think it was a disagreement about how I remember something versus how you remember it. But anyhow, so I said, hey, can I give some feedback on something that's been bothering me? That's how the conversation started. Very calm, very benign.
Agreed.
And I mentioned that to you, and then boom, you could just see the fumes like coming through your head. And then it turned into, fuck no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to. And I'm like, I'm not at all saying, sit there, shut up, make me sandwiches, clean out. But that was the way you were reacting, as though I was telling you, sit down, shut your mouth, and don't ever say anything.
It felt very much like you're not allowed to have an opinion. You are not allowed to, have the opinion, voice the opinion. It's just like I'm supposed to just go along and agree with everything that you say, and I'm like, that goes against every part of our relationship. Like we have a whole, and I even said that, I said, we have an entire podcast, Kent, where we do not agree on things. And like, so you want me to just now all of a sudden, like, just act like I agree with everything?
You took it and I'm like, no, that's not at all what I'm saying.
Okay. So first of all, I still don't 100% agree with you. Like, I'm not going to just sit back and be like, oh yeah, he's always right. Like, that's not going to happen. Sorry. But what I took from that was, I'm happy to say, yeah, that's not how I remember it, but okay. Yeah. That's what I can say.
Yeah.
I'm not just be like, yeah, like you get details incorrect. Like it's not.
Okay.
But I think this one, I can't remember what it was.
Let's fast forward a little bit. So we get through that a little bit. But anyway,
yes, it did. It immediately enraged me. Like it enraged. It did. It immediately enraged me. And it did feel, I think I even used the word chauvinist, like chauvinistic. It felt very, and I think you said something that, I don't really think you meant it that way, but I think the way that you said it was kind of still very chauvinistic to me.
She's making that part up because, but anyhow. So there was nothing I could say in this moment that was going to make you feel any better.
But no, there wasn't.
Okay.
But you wanted me to just agree with you and be done with it, really. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna. You're like, so this is how it's gonna go. I'm like, yeah, this is how it's gonna go. Like, I just need you to stop talking to me.
Sure.
I'm done with this conversation. You've asked me that. I don't agree with you, but you know what? I'm just gonna say, okay, sure.
And so that reaction was what I would consider old Annie. Especially the shutdown part, not the initial enrage, because you're probably always going to do that, and that's fine. That's just who you are. But okay, whatever. I'm just going to sit with my mouth shut, and I'm like, that is not at all what I'm trying to say. At no part of my conversation was I trying to say that, and you know that I don't want you to be like that. But that was what I would call old Annie. And then was it later that night? I feel like, or maybe the next
You
day.
said something, you were like, you need to go journal on this because I
Yeah.
like, where is this coming from? Like, you really need to think about this, which you were really just mirroring back to me things that I've said to you recently because I have said that to you quite frequently. But anyway, it made me really stop and be like, whoa, now, okay, so where is this coming from? Long story short, I came back and I was able to kind of tell you where it was coming from. What I had realized that is what you were saying to me was hitting on that wound, what I call trauma of as a little kid, I was told, don't be seen, don't be heard, don't draw attention to yourself. So basically, like, be quiet, like you're not important, you should not take up space. And that's kind of really been my major, I mean, the whole thing, that which is, it's very tangled, but and it impacts so much. It's really crazy.
So where did you hear this? You said as a child you were told, or you were made to feel.
It comes from a lot of different places. I would say the first time that I really ever recall that is when my stepmom had told me at 8 years old. It was me and her and my dad. I don't know why my brother wasn't there. I feel like he wasn't there, but maybe he was. I just blocked him out. But basically, I wanted my dad to sit on the same side of the booth as me when we went out to eat. And she told me I was being a brat for wanting my dad to sit beside me at the dinner table. And that's what I first recall. And then from there, I knew it was very clear from there on out that I was not supposed to I was not supposed to want my dad's attention at all. Zero, zilch. Like, it caused a major issue between him and my stepmom. If ever he was giving me attention, it was a big to do. Now, I never heard those words. I never heard them actually argue and say my name, but I felt it. The entire house felt it. Now, I will say that as an 8-year-old kid, you're very black and white. Your brain is very black and white. You don't have that gray space. So when things happen, you take that and assign a meaning to it. And that meaning, it may be accurate, but it a lot of times it's not right. So I do recognize that when I say they fought and it felt like they were fighting because he was trying to give some sort of attention to me or to my brother, that's what it felt like to me. I recognize that maybe that's not what it was at all. I highly doubt it, but there is that possibility. But that's the meaning I assigned to it. The meaning I assigned to it was I'm not supposed to want any love from my dad, basically. And I feel like I got that from her, and he pretty much backed it up because he didn't do anything to counteract that. He didn't. He never went out of his way to make sure that we still got the attention that we needed once my mom and dad got divorced. I mean, when they got divorced at 8 years old, my mom moved us back to Ohio, and I would see my dad twice a year. I saw him one week in the summer, and I saw him 1 week at Christmas. And in between there, I do recall him calling at first and we would talk on the phone, but that became less and less and less. And then as I got a little bit older and I would want to call and talk to him, or we were trying to make plans for, when we were coming down, because when I got old enough to make those plans, like, it went through me because my mom was not going to deal with my stepmom, and my stepmom was absolutely not letting my mom deal with my dad, and my dad was fine with that. Like, he didn't care.
Yeah.
And so she also got to the point where she like, I would call and try to talk to my dad, and she'd be like, he's too busy. He's too busy. But I can talk to you. I can tell you what's going on. I can tell you what we got plans, and we can, make the plans for you coming down or whatever. But so it just got to the point where I didn't speak to him. I literally would see him when I went for that week, those 2 weeks, and that was it. Like, absolutely, that was it. There's no other interaction whatsoever. And so, that's where it just was, it was safer for me. And safe does not really feel like the right word, but it was easier for me to be very small, to be very quiet, to stay out of the way, to stay hidden, to make sure that I didn't want for any attention or affection, love from my father, because I wanted to keep the peace. I wanted Lisa to be okay, because when she was okay, even though Dad wasn't there, I liked being around her. We had a good time. She would take us and go do things with us. And so that was fine. But if he wasn't there and she was mad, and I could tell that she was mad at me, then it was a very, very lonely time when I was at my dad's.
And so even to this day, even though you don't have any relationship with Lisa, you don't talk to her, message her, or anything like that, would you say it's fair to say that you and your dad still have a very similar dynamic?
Yes. Yes.
So,
yes.
Part of, and it's hard for me to grasp this, and I think that, so before, this would be a situation where you would get mad, you would get angry, you'd shut down, and we would never talk about this part of it.
Yeah.
And as your husband, it's and as a dad, honestly, I mean, it's hard for me to fathom a dad being like that. I mean, even into his 80s, and you're 50 years old, and it's like there are times where you guys are having to communicate, and you're literally
it's very infrequent, and it's by text.
Yeah.
And it is
very high level.
It's very high level, because she for whatever reason, she does not like me at this point. Like, I mean, things got a little bit better the older I got, and then when I moved back down here, and when I got married and had Jackson, things were quite a bit better, I would say. And then a couple of years later, my stepsister had her first baby, and it kind of just went back downhill again. And I started re-feeling those same feelings from her. I just felt like
Then you were feeling it through Jackson.
I was feeling it through Jackson. I was feeling like Jackson was now being treated the way that I was always treated, and I was not going to have that. So I completely removed he and I from that situation. I made that decision, and that's my decision. To not be a part of any of that. And I was okay with that, and I'm still okay with that. It's still hard, and it sucks, and I made that decision for Jackson. That kind of also sucks at that point, now that he's older. But even when I did that, there was really no question as to why. Like, no, he never said, like, what's going on? Why don't you come around? Why, what happened? Like, never, ever. It was just like, oh, okay. And then I don't even know, there were a couple of times after you and I got together, we saw them and kind of almost felt like the relationship was going to try to start again. And then for whatever reason, it didn't. She got mad at me. I don't even know what I did exactly, but I did something again. And so at this point, it was just like completely cut off. And that's been, I think that was before we were married. So that's been 17 years ago.
Yeah.
And so still to this day, she's, he still can't, I mean, he is point blank said that, like, he can't do anything. Like, can't really have a relationship.
So in my mind, we have talked collectively on here where we have said, as you've gotten into the human design and stuff like that, it's like we wish that we would have known this stuff like when the kids were coming up, because you might would have raised them differently, treated them differently, talked to them differently, and that kind of thing. And so I guess my question to you is, just like you feel you wish you would have known more about this human design as the kids were growing up, do you feel like that you would have had the ability to kind of dissect yourself like this, 15, 18 years ago, like when the kids were growing up? Like, what are your thoughts? Or what would you think that you would maybe do differently?
Well, so first of all, this is really separate from the human design.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, agree.
Like this is...
Agree.
So ask the question one more time. I'm not
so
sure.
So we have acknowledged that we wish we would have known more about this human design and that kind of thing. So I recognize that it's different from this. So I guess my question is, do you feel like, you wish you would have been able to have these breakthroughs?
Oh, absolutely.
And then what do you think that would have changed over the last?
I think what I said is that I'm realizing, I think I said this, I know I put it in my journal and I said it to you, that I think I'm now just realizing how tangled that feeling, how tangled it is with everything in my life. So, not just the relationship with you and I, but the relationship of Lauren and I. And
Jackson and I.
And you and Jackson, like I did not want Jackson to feel the feelings that I've felt. I never wanted him to be, I've always felt like I've been second best. I've never been anyone's priority. And even like after Mom and Dad got divorced and Mom moved us back to Ohio, like she was pretty broken. And, it was, I don't recall, first of all, it was very, very hard for her. Like she was a single mom. She was making such a small amount of money, and my stepmom wasn't sending, the child support like she should. And it was very hard for Mom. So, as an adult, and I recognize that, but like as a child, I don't feel like she worked very hard and then she came home, and I don't recall like really seeing her much. And then when she met my stepdad, that was the priority. It was him. And so I really just my entire life have felt like I was never the priority, and I was always second best. And, just don't take up space. Don't, it's just tangled a lot. So anyway, I never wanted Jackson to feel those feelings of not being wanted and not being good enough. And so I think because I didn't want him to feel that, I went so far the other direction in like protecting him that I never let you come in and try to parent him, because I never ever wanted him to feel the feelings that I had felt. And so I'm realizing now, I knew that I did that, but just like the awareness now of what that did as far as your relationship with him, impacting the ability to like really be close with him and parent him. I'm just realizing how much everything that I've ever done has impacted all that. And then the relationship with Lauren, like me trying so much not to be like my stepmom, and, in dealing with her mother and how she tried to interject herself into our relationship, and me fighting so hard against that. And for you, I think it felt like I didn't want you to be part of Lauren's life sometimes, but it was more so me fighting so hard against somebody also, again, trying just to control everything, control my life, control me, and control the situation. And so it was really hard. So things that, I really tried not to be like my stepmom to Lauren. I think I inadvertently then still played that out in some situations, even though I didn't want to. And that was really hard. And so anyway, like it's just keeps in it. So basically, okay, so, woe's me, whatever. So basically, like, until you start recognizing these things, you don't know how to fix these things until you start recognizing them. And so it's finally just all starting to really come to the surface for me by doing this work, and I'm recognizing where all this is coming from. And now that I'm recognizing where all this is coming from, I can really truly work on figuring, like, how do I fix it? Like, how do I reparent myself and fix these things, and so that I truly can change these relationships. And not just change our relationship. I mean, like, when you do this healing work, it literally is proven that it changes your destiny. It changes the generation. It changes up to 7 generations forward and heals your generations backwards, and not just front and back. Like, my cousins, like, will feel like there will be healing for them, like healing for you. It's
because you have said before that there's no doubt that there's trauma on your mom's side, your dad's side, or whatever, that he or she may have had, and that their parents may have had, and it just gets passed on and on and on. And if you never break that cycle, it just continues to get pushed down. It may be a different trauma, but at the end of the day, there's still trauma in the way people handle it. If you never break that cycle, it just continues to move down.
And I think, I really, now I'm thinking about this, I really feel like all of this started when I started, like, really working on my relationship with money. Because, if you look at your life, like, you will find themes that you keep repeating over and over and over. And so I wanted to really start with the whole, like, my relationship with money. Why do I have this particular relationship with money? Why do I feel like, why have I felt in the past like there's never enough money, or, whatever it is. And that's kind of where all of this started. And then it really took me from that to, like, even deeper.
Well, and so that's a good point. And let me rewind. I think you kind of brushed over and said, woe is me. Like, first of all, this is definitely not a woe is me. I mean, this is a lot for you to take on, and a lot of feelings. And since being able to identify these things, it starts to give meaning to me, to you, to both of us, to why things have been, like, things that we used to fight about or disagree on or not really understand. Now it has meaning. And now I'm like, okay, I can see why, she always, even though I tried as hard as I could, I could see why she always felt like, Jackson, that I treated him differently, or that he was treated different than Lauren, or, the other parenting side for Lauren is much different than the other parenting side for Jackson. And, it's much easier for me now to say, okay, I understand now why she felt like Jackson was less, or why she felt the need to protect him, or why she felt the need to make sure he doesn't feel inferior or second best or whatever. And so, whereas in before, I would be made to feel that I'm treating him differently, and it would turn into a fight. And it was a part that I didn't understand. I'm like, I don't, that is not what's happening.
And I didn't
here.
have the words or the understanding myself to tell you, other than, you've not been through, your parents weren't divorced, you don't understand. But I didn't have the understanding to be able to express where this was really truly coming from. And I don't know, maybe I knew, I probably did know back then, but I just didn't know how to voice it, explain it.
Yeah. And you've gotten so much better at expressing yourself, and really going from point A to point B, and really get your point across clearly. Whereas before, you would get so flustered, so frustrated, so whatever, that we never made it to point B. We'd start at point A, and then we would go down all these little, and we would never make it to point B, which is why it turned into days, and why it turned into, and it's just like and that's why I think sometimes things just kept reoccurring, because we never really had those breakthrough conversations to where we made it to point B. And I feel like now that we've made it to point B, or can make it to point B a little easier, I think it helps prevent, or at least reduce, some things kind of happening more than once or reoccurring. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I do want to hear you talk about this money thing because I have some thoughts on it. But I do agree that that's kind of what sparked a good bit of this. So let's kind of get back to like the way you think about money today, and why is it that your childhood makes you feel like that today? And I don't know if childhood or your early adult life, whatever.
So just examples, and I think these are probably things a lot of people have been through that
In our generation.
yeah, pretty benign. But if you really sit and think about it, you're like, oh shit. And then I probably have said the same things to my kid. But so I remember, I think the first thoughts around money, I think for me were around that same time frame of my parents getting divorced and us moving back to Ohio. You know, when my mom and dad were together, my mom, I don't even know. I think in Georgia she didn't work. She worked before, and then we moved to Georgia, and she didn't work for a little while. But so my dad was, you know, he was the one making the money or whatever. And so when we moved to, and we had a nice house. We lived here. We had a nice house. You know, it was a comfortable
Upper middle class.
Yeah. And when we moved to Ohio, we lived in a tiny, I mean, I can't even tell you, Kent, it probably was like 1,000 square foot house. Like, it was tiny. And it was just the three of us. And, you know, mom worked really hard. I already told the story one time about mom going to McDonald's. Like, I remember her going to McDonald's, and we would get the McDLT. I would get the McDLT. She would not order anything for herself. And I would get so mad because she would eat some of my French fries, but she would literally just take what I didn't eat from that McDLT and make a sandwich. And that's when I first realized, like, oh, okay, like, we don't have enough money. Like, my mom's not eating because she doesn't want to eat. Like, money is not easy. And as much as she never said it, I picked up on the fact and knew that my dad, Lisa, whoever, didn't send the child support checks like they, you know, were supposed to. And, you know, for her to not have that, it was a real struggle for her to be able to, you know, support us. Like, I looked very forward to coming back down to dad's during the summer because I knew that Lisa would take me school shopping because mom could never afford to buy clothes for us for school shopping. So I got clothes once a year. And I probably got something at Christmas, I'm sure. But I, you know, I didn't get that from mom. So I knew, like, okay, so money is hard. And I remember at Christmas times, you know, when we would go down, first of all, mom was like, you need to go to, like, she was like, she willingly had us go to dad's for Christmas. And when I say for Christmas, I'm talking Christmas morning. Like, what parent gives up having their kid with them on Christmas morning, right? Well, the parent that can't afford to give their kid Christmas. That's anyway. Okay, so I'm just now saying that aloud. So we would go to dad's, and I can remember dad saying he was an entrepreneur, so every year it would be either, oh, you know, it's going to be a good Christmas, like, it's been a good year this year, it's going to be a good Christmas, or we would hear, you know, now, you know, things are going to be quite the same, they're going to be quite as good this year because, you know, this year's been tough, you know, whatever. And I took that in. I realized how much I took that in of, you know, money. There really is a lack in money. It's never just an abundant thing. Money is always limited. And what's crazy is he texted me around Christmas or whatever. And the last couple of years, he had been sending us a box of steaks from, like, Omaha Steaks or whatever around my birthday. And this year we didn't get that. And he had sent a text and said, and I'll be damned, I was like, oh, fuck. I'm like, he's trying to take me out. He's trying to take me down. I've done all this work. But the text was like, you know, oh, shoot. He's like, you know, I'm sorry. I wanted him to do more, but this year hasn't been a great year. You know, we've done a third of the business that we typically do, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, fucking A. Like, I've done all this work and here, like, universe is trying to test me and take me out and like give me this trigger that, I've had all these years.
Or make you realize how strong you have
Yes,
gotten.
and it did. It absolutely did. Because I mean, I've not been around him in 17 plus years. Like I have not heard that. So for that to come up this year was like, fuck, like like this work is serious. Like the universe is like, okay, are you really in it? Are you really in it to win it? Because if so, I'm going to send you this test and see how you do. And I didn't melt. I didn't break down. I didn't fall into it. I was like, "Oh, cool." So my response was, "Yeah, that's great. It's absolutely just the fact that you are what did I say? Something along the fact of just the fact that you're thinking about me is enough. I appreciate it. I don't need anything else." It did not take me out. I did not. I don't think I went downhill. Maybe I did somewhat. I don't know. But it's just crazy to me that when you are doing this work, don't think that things aren't going to come up to test you, because it absolutely is what they teach us is like you are going to have triggers and you're going to have tests, and they're two different things. And that 100% was a test to see, how are you going to respond to this? How are you going to deal with this? Are you going to allow it to impact you and your family and start falling back into that trap of there's not enough and that lack mentality? And I didn't. I don't think that I did that.
No, I don't. At least you didn't verbalize it to me. But I do think that, generally speaking, it still creates somewhere in your brain that there is still a lack.
Oh yeah.
And so, I mean, we're by no means at all rich, but last year was a good year. I mean, it's the most money we've made, as a married couple since we've been together. And I feel like that there was an abundance that we have not necessarily had before. We've always, done okay. I mean, we've always had a nice house, cars, all that stuff. But I felt like last year was a good year. But I think that you probably had a lot of the same insecurities, a lot of the same doubts, a lot of the same worries that you had when we were making less money. And I would be willing to bet that if we make more money this year, you're probably still going to have some of those same doubts, concerns, because it's all in your mind. It's always what if and what could go wrong, and we don't have enough, and you know what I'm saying?
Well, it's a fine line. I find that it is a balance between I don't want to be in a lack mentality. I don't want to say, okay, I can't afford to do this. I've really tried to remove that statement from my vocabulary for a very long time. And I catch myself saying it. I catch myself thinking it, and I have to reframe it to, okay, no, I can afford whatever I want to afford. I mean, money is all around us. Look at everything in this house, everything in this world. There's money all around. There's enough money. So I have to just reframe that to, okay, so what do I want to spend my money on right this minute? And I have to also think about, because there is a fine line of, okay, we don't want to overspend, because we do need to think about the following month and the month after that. So we don't need to go crazy, but understanding that being financially responsible is not the same as a fear and a lack of not having money.
Yeah.
And I think I've gotten a lot better about that.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And I mean, I feel like you have confidence in spending money. I can tell you that because you've gotten really good at that. No, but I think that one of the things that you talk about when you're doing your, I don't know, practices or whatever, where you're kind of manifestations and affirmations and all that stuff, is you talk a lot about abundance and, money's flowing and, there's always going to be enough and all this stuff. And what I have, and I believe that even though I don't vocalize it the same way you do, even though I don't get into the same exercises or activities or practices or whatever, this is when I tell you, I learn this stuff through you. And I pick up on your manifestation through you, or my manifestation through you. And I really, truly believe that works. But there have been times where I've said to you, look, if you're going to say all this, if you're going to preach it or you're going to act it or you're going to, like, you actually have to believe it. You know what I mean? Like, if you say money is abundant, you have to actually believe it. If you say that the universe is going to take care of us, you have to actually believe it. And I think that you've gotten better about that, but I do think that there are times where, and maybe it is a test, maybe it is a trigger, maybe it is okay, let's see if Annie really believes, that they are in fact going to be okay. Let's see if Annie or Kent really believes, let me, have a slower couple months and see what that really does to their psyche and that kind of thing. So,
and I think I think it's I don't see. And here's the other thing: I don't know that, like, when you go through healing, I don't know that it's ever truly healed. I think you're always going to continue to be tested on these things. And for me, what I'm noticing is, okay, I'm getting better and better at it. Like, it doesn't take me out to where I'm like, oh my God, how are we going to survive? Because I was at that point in 2019, 2018, when we went through all the ish with the G, and
I was 19.
Was it 19? Yeah. I was there. I was like, oh my God, how are we going to survive? We're never going to make this. This is not going to, we're going to lose our house, blah, 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 blah. And, going through, the things with the store, and then, me not working and it being solely on you, I've definitely been tested, and I am seeing that, okay, there might be a law, and I might have a little bit of a dip of, maybe it's taking me out just a little bit. Maybe I have a little bit of lack in faith, and then I'm rebounding and right back. And I think, like, that's okay. I'm not going to shame myself for being human.
Sure.
Like, I don't, there's no way that you're always going to be positive about everything.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, especially you, just kind of the way you are. But and we need some of that too. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have, I think, a little bit of worry. And I don't know if worry is the right word. You have to have a little bit of cautiousness, if you will. But I definitely agree that it's not nearly the same level. It's not taking you out like it would before. And I'm really proud of you, and I think that you should be proud. So I guess, like, what does this mean? Do you feel like that now that you kind of understand your 50-year-old self, now that you understand what's kind of gotten you to this point, do you feel like that you're trying to help, like, Jackson and Lauren, not make the same mistakes, but think about things differently?
I'm trying so hard, and I think with Jackson, like, it's I realize, because I didn't start this type of stuff. I started this stuff probably about, not, I would say 10 years ago. 10 or 11 years ago is when I kind of started this different mindset and thinking about things. And, so up until that time, I mean, he was 10, 11, 12 years old at that point already. And so I had already instilled in him these same things that my parents had instilled in me, which is go to school, get a good job, work for somebody the rest of your life. And now I'm realizing, fuck that. Like, that, I mean, sure, if you have a specialized, if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a lawyer, something specialized like that, that is something you've got to do. Otherwise, do I think it's necessary? No. Could just having a basic degree in today's world still be helpful? Sure. I think it's bullshit, but whatever. But I'm trying the best that I can without being overly crazy, to slip these things in. And, we kind of joke about it now, but I think in the last 2 or 3 years, I can see Jackson, he has picked up on these things. He's picked up on these things. And I think, like, sometimes when you talk about, like, Jackson calls me because he's trying to vent his problems to me or whatever, he's doing it because I am the person who's going to give it back. I'm going to reframe it for him and give it back to him in a way that's positive. It's not the end of the world, son. This is how you got to think about it. This is what's going to happen. Here are the opportunities. Here's what you can do with this. And that's just a level of comfort for him. And so I think he is coming around more and more to that. Now, Lauren, I honestly don't know that anything that I say gets through.
It does. But to go back to the Jackson thing, I think that part of it is you're his mom, and that's fair. Y'all are alike in a lot of respects, and that's fair. But I think it's also because you've done the work to understand kind of the human design of people. Whereas then, if he were to call me, my response is just go get the shit done.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just stop all this talk and stop with all the ideas. Just go to fucking work. You know what I mean? And I think that, and sometimes you and I kind of have these sidebars where you know that that's how I am.
Yeah.
And you, I think, to a certain extent, will what's the word? Limit.
We just had this conversation.
Censor.
I feel
You'll
like 2 weeks
censor
ago.
kind of what you share with me because you know that my response is going to be, okay, I hear you, but let's get to work. You know what I mean, kind of thing. And so I think you do a good job of censoring it, but I do think that you do a good job understanding him and, like you're saying, being able to give it back to him in a way that is going to work for him.
Yeah, like we've jumped around a lot here. First of all, let me just say that because
we know human design is different than we get that. But,
okay. So, but let me jump back
but
to
it
the
all
human
it
design.
all plays together.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the human design piece is so, I believe in it so much. It is so important, and the more I know about it, I see it so strongly in the four of us. In how you are meant to be is not how they are both meant to be. And you know, and that is why sometimes I do step in and I censor what I share with you, because you are going to say, just fucking go do it. Like, stick with it.
And it's hard for me.
No, that's not what actually is supposed to happen.
Well, and it's hard for me because I'm torn, because I'll hear you guys talking about stuff, and there are times where I'll feel left out because I'm like, well, shit, I have some experience. Like, I feel like I could really contribute to this conversation, but at the same time, I also know that if I get too deep into that conversation, the way I think about things are going to come out, and it could stifle that conversation. You know what I mean? Very quickly.
Right.
Because let's go from here to here, let's figure it out, versus all this other stuff that y'all tend to do together. So, but there are times where I will get my feelings hurt a little bit, where I'm like, why is no one asking me? I probably have more business experience than all y'all put together. No one's asking me for my opinion about this stuff, you know?
Right. And that came out I think in that same conversation that we had regarding all this, because it was that morning I woke up and like I just was feeling like we had the conversation the night before, but I wasn't feeling quite over it yet. And so I did another DI, and these things came out of it, and like all just clearly, it just all started pouring out of me. And I like had it was an ugly cry. Like, I had my arm over my face because it was the ugly cry, and I'm just crying, but I keep talking and it just keeps all spilling out. And it's one of those times of, you know, like, it would be great to have it recorded, because after it all spilled out, was like, I don't know that I remember even everything that I said. I tried to immediately go journal it and write it all down so I could remember everything that I said. And then I think that kind of came out after I said all of that, and we talked more and more and more about it. You had kind of said that to me, that you do feel a little bit left out. And, you know, so I definitely want to recognize that and take that into consideration, because I don't want you to feel left out.
But I understand why. I mean, I truly do. And I know that when it's needed, you will come to me and say, hey, what do you think about this? I mean, I recognize when that time finally comes that will happen, and it has from time to time. But I do have to remind myself. I think to myself, why is no one? And then I say, probably because I'm going to step in and have the conversation the way that I think about things, and through learning through Annie. She's not like me. Jackson's not like me. Lauren's not like me. You know what I mean? And honestly,
your life would be so much easier if we were all like you.
Honestly, I suspect that Ashley's probably a good bit like me, which is...
She is.
I'm sure Jackson talks to her, but she probably doesn't... I don't know, console's not the right word. She probably doesn't fully engage everything that he needs, which is why he probably, because I know he's saying the same thing to you that he says to Ashley. It's just that you're engaging differently. I know she's an empathetic person, and I know that, you know, they're trying to figure stuff out, and I know that she loves him, and they're a team and all that stuff. But I imagine that at some point in that conversation, the like me part's coming out too.
Well, yeah. So you know, everybody has different gates and they have different channels. And sometimes if you have a gate that is hanging, I might also have the opposite gate hanging, and together they make that channel. And when you get together with somebody who completes your channel, you know, you really can have that connection on, you know, that particular topic. And so I think I've not done I need to do the connection chart between Jackson and I, but I'm certain that there are definitely channels that I probably complete for him. And so when he is in my energy, he probably is getting some of those like creative things are sparking in him that he might not be getting talking to somebody else possibly. And that's everybody. Like everybody does that. Like if you ever are around somebody and you're just like, man, like this person's energy is just like, wow. And you just find like you really connect on a particular thing and like you're excited. Like it probably is that you complete, either they complete something for you or you complete something for them, or, you know, both at the same time. That's highly likely. So it's all super cool.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do we end, like, how do we conclude this? Because I think it's important.
I don't know, because this has been a chaotic episode.
It has. Like. We bounced around. Of course, they had the dogs, but I don't think we can understate the power of all of this. And I don't know that it's easy to say, listen, guys, if you don't know about your human design, or you don't know about DI, or you don't go learn about it. I don't think it's as simple as that. Somebody has to have a strong desire to do that. They've got to have the time to do it, and the energy and all that stuff. But it's just it's really, really fascinating to learn about it. But then it's fascinating to actually see it in action. And I can say I am a believer that I have seen your evolution in understanding things, thinking about things, reasoning with things, communicating. And I feel like that there are things that I do differently just from learning from you and observing you. And I can only imagine how much better of a person I would be if I committed the same level of energy and time and studying and all that stuff that you do. But and Annie, I'm telling you guys, she tells me all the time, you got trauma, Kent. You need to heal your trauma. You need to heal your, and I'm like, no, I'm good. And I keep like, and so we were at the Waffle House yesterday.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So we were at the Waffle House yesterday, and she had been saying something about trauma a little bit. And so anyhow, without going like too deep into the conversation at the Waffle House, I started to kind of understand, okay, maybe there is something there that, you know, that you go through as your childhood. And I think that it's important to understand that we may not see it as trauma. And we kind of alluded to in the last episode. We're like, trauma's always been that word that's like, it's a bad, you know.
Well, it's a big it's a big word. It carries a lot of weight typically, but you know, trauma can be anything. And they will tell you, like, your first trauma with literally being born, like being born and coming from a nice cozy womb to outside, you know, your mother's, you know, care
my baby
and
screaming
comfort.
their heads off.
Yeah, to these bright lights, and it's cold, and you know, whatever, and like you're like, what the hell just happened? Like, that is your first trauma. And if you are taken away from the mother, like, you know, for example, like Jackson was taken to like NICU immediately, like, and I didn't see him again for hours. Like, that's an initial trauma of, you know, being left, like not feeling safe, kind of thing. And so, there's so many of those type of situations that happen, and so it's crazy. But let me tell you something. So so I said, I want to go back because I said that I was trying to work on my relationship with money. The reason I was trying to work on my relationship with money is because I knew my relationship with money was impacting Jackson and how I raised him to think about money, and I wanted to correct that. And so when I started diving even deeper into this healing work, when I realized that the way that I feel, I've passed the not being good enough, the not being worthy, those type of feelings, I've passed that down to him. I want to heal that, and I want to break that. I want to break that cycle. I do not want him to feel like that. I do not want him to pass that down. So that's why I'm doing this healing work. It is for me, but it's more so because I want to do that for him. And so if anyone else out there feels that way, if you think about it that way, even though it's not like your favorite thing to do, we pretty much would do just about anything for our kids.
So do you feel like if there's somebody like listening and this is resonating with them, like
did you say resonating?
Resonating with them, whatever. Resonating with. Okay, first of all, bitch, for as much as you mess up on words, bet it's on now. But okay, the Guyver. If it's resonating with anyone, would you say they reach out to you? Would you say, I mean, like, how would someone go about trying to, if they're thinking, man, I probably had childhood trauma about money or about parents or about, fill in the blank. I mean, I'm certain that every single person out there has something that they've never really been able to define it. They've never really been able to heal from it. They've never really been able to get past it, to go from point A to point B. Like, what do you think that person should do?
Yeah, there's a lot that you can do, but it's also it's kind of overwhelming to get started. And I think that's why it's part of my design. Like I try something, I figure it out, I move on to the next thing. But the point of that is that I can share it with people. So I definitely have a lot of knowledge and things that people that you can follow, podcasts that you can listen to, things that you can do like somatic healing, breath work and tapping. You can do past life regressions. You can do past life healings. The hypnotherapy, like there's so many things to do. Because I think that's the other thing, like you don't necessarily, you could have a feeling, you could have a reaction to something and not necessarily know why. And you don't necessarily have to know why to be able to fix some of these things. And so I had a session yesterday with someone, and she was saying that there's a high likelihood that my mother had some sort of trauma or dated somebody maybe that was very narcissistic, and it wasn't my dad, and it really impacted how she expected to be loved in relationships. But I have no way to ask her this now. There's no one around that I can ask. And so I have to just be okay with knowing that, that could be part of me. And I, definitely can see where I've looked for love in the wrong places also.
Not with me though, right?
No. Okay. And, but I can heal those things. I can feel those particular things. I don't have to actually know the story. So I think that's, don't let that stop you also, because I think it can be very overwhelming to feel like you got to know everything. Or maybe you did have something that was very scary, very traumatic, very hurtful. It could be sexual, it could be domestic abuse. Like, you don't necessarily have to relive those situations for your body to have those feelings still, but for you to heal it. Yeah. And somatics is great for that. The body remembers things, and you don't necessarily have to relive the situation for your body to still be feeling it, for you to release it, remove it.
So maybe, like you're saying, you can share some of the people they can follow, listen to, and all that stuff. And maybe you just start out with listening to podcasts. Maybe you don't have time. Maybe just something simple that you can do on the way to work, on the way back, on the weekends. But I would really, really encourage you guys to really dive into this however you can, because she is a testament to what
Are you going to dive into this?
Probably not. I learned the shit through you.
Oh, babe, I can't heal your trauma.
I'm healed. No, I mean, yeah, we will probably dive into my
podcast.
We will probably dive into my trauma at some point. And the way you were asking the questions at Waffle House led me to believe, okay, I probably do have some trauma in some things.
Yay me. That I want to give myself a pat on the back for, because I was 100% trying to like, okay, I've got to really.
Yeah, she finally broke through.
I've got to really address this in a way that is non-threatening, non-accusatory, like really make him think about this. And so, yay me. This year, this 50th year, it's been rough. It's not easy. It's not horrible, but it's definitely not easy. It has been emotional. It has been an emotional year.
Well, your lips look good right now. I can tell you that.
There are a lot of different things this has impacted. I've got other stories, but I'll save those for other days.
Yeah, because we're already passing out. This might be one of our longest episodes.
I also just want to bring up that, like...
We're still going. Okay.
I know. Well, I think this is important to say. Like, I don't blame my dad. I don't blame my mom. I don't blame my stepmom. Like, this is not a blame of these are horrible people, because
100%.
They all had their own stories and their own lives and things that they went through, which caused them to be the people that they are. So there was
a lot of things that they did right.
Right. There's there's a lot of things that you look back and think, oh, I wish I would have done things differently. And I'm not saying that they do or don't think that. All I'm saying is I'm just sharing where these things came from for me. I'm not placing blame. I'm just trying to figure out why I feel the way that I feel and why I believe the things that I believe, so that I can fix those things for myself and Jackson going forward.
Well, I love you, babe. I'm proud of you.
I love you, and I appreciate that. Okay. So, whoa, okay.
Till next time. We can't even give a teaser because we don't even know what a teaser is going to be.
We'll talk about New York.
Okay. That'd be a lot of fun. It's about like listening to someone's dream.
Okay. All right. We'll skip New York then.
No,
okay.
We'll figure it out. All right. See you guys.
Bye. Before we wrap up, we just want to say thank you so much for spending this time with us. Truly, it means a lot that you're here and listening. If today's episode made you laugh, nod along, or feel a little less alone, we'd love it if you take a minute to leave a review. It really helps more people find the show and keep these conversations going. And if you know someone you regularly debate life with, go ahead and share this episode with them. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.